everyone, it's Marianne and welcome to My Wasteless Life. For today's video, I'm going to give you some of my plant updates. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, this is My Wasteless Life, where I take you along my plant journey and share some of my beginner tips and tricks for houseplants and sustainable lifestyle. On today's video, I'm going to give updates on some of my plants that I've been getting questions about, plants that I said that I would give updates on, and plants that basically I've talked about in my previous videos since my last plant updates video. So today I'm going to share with you about 10 plants and let's get started. So the first plants that I'm going to give you updates on are my Pothos that I converted into Leca. And if you've seen my Pothos and Leca video, you know I'm a skeptic when it comes to Leca. I'm not really into the Leca hype, but I thought giving it a try before I completely knock it out. And after I converted my Pothos and Leca, the first week or two was probably very stressful for me because my plants were experiencing a lot of yellowings, which I was kind of upset about because those are the leaves that had a variegation that I kind of want to maintain. But unfortunately, they were the first victims of my Leca conversion. And during the first week, I also find myself checking it every day to see if the Leca capillary action is actually working for the plants. So that was a bit stressful during the first week or so. But after the first 2 weeks, when I noticed my plants are no longer yellowing and all of them are actually starting to have new growth when it comes to leaves and the roots, I kind of laid my hands off them and just let them be, to the point that I actually forget to flush it or change up the water in the Leca. But once I got into the habit of checking the water levels at least once a week and also flushing the plants in Leca every 2 weeks, then it became pretty smooth sailing for them. And I must admit, when I traveled to Chicago for the weekend, those are the plants that I was least worried about when it comes to their watering levels, because I made sure that I topped off the water before I left. So yeah, enough me babbling, and let me show you the Pothos that I had in Leca. So the first one is this golden Pothos, a Hawaiian golden Pothos. This is the one that I was kind of upset about during the first week of the Leca conversion, because this is the one that had leaves that look like the Hawaiian golden Pothos. And with the golden Pothos, it's actually very hard to distinguish between different forms already. So I was really upset when the two leaves that has the distinct form of the Hawaiian golden Pothos were the ones to die out. So now it pretty much looked like an ordinary golden Pothos. Maybe this leaf is showing the Hawaiian golden Pothos form, but for the rest of the leaves, it's just pretty much an ordinary golden Pothos. And all of these are new growth. Like I think the 1, 2, 3, and the baby one here, these one are all new growth. Adding this thread for self-watering for me actually helped, but more so for my peace of mind that I am sure that the water is actually reaching the roots of the golden Pothos. And this one was mostly by my kitchen sink, so I was able to top this one off and flush this one quite regularly compared to the other ones that I have in Leca that I keep in my bedroom. So next one is my GLACIER Pothos. This is probably the one that did the best in Leca. It only suffered minimal leaf loss, I think maybe just like 1 or 2, and the root growth has been amazing on this one. As you can see, it has already outgrown the pot and the roots are coming out of the drainage hole, and I just keep it like that. It's okay for now. I don't think I'm gonna convert it into a bigger pot. I might just trim off the roots. You can see how healthy and thick the new roots are, so I'm really happy about that. And the next one is the SCINDAPSUS PICTUS ARGYREUS, the single leaf cuttings that I converted into Leca. This one did suffer, I think, the most leaf loss among the 3, which I was kind of upset about because this is the one that was propagating in sphagnum moss, and it did so well in sphagnum moss, not a single leaf loss, and the leaf that died was actually the largest one from the propagation. But as you can see, this leaf right here is about to die out as well, and this one too, so I don't know what's going on with that. I did add a few more cuttings into this one as well. The root growth in this one is not as fast as the other 2, but it's healthy. It's doing well now after the initial leaf loss, even though I'm losing like a couple leaves here and there still. Yeah, that's the my SCINDAPSUS PICTUS ARGYREUS in Leca. And in my Pothos in Leca video, I also put some of my Hoya cuttings and succulent cuttings into Leca, and this is the Hoya Crimson Queen right now. There's significant root growth, not much, but there's significant root growth. So this one I didn't expect to do as well as it did, and honestly I rarely change the water on this one because the water don't seem to go down as fast. I think I changed this once or twice just to be able to flush the water, and it has new growth, which is I'm really excited about. As far as the string of turtles that I was also propagating in Leca, I took it out of Leca pretty much almost immediately, and I'm going to show you why later when I give you an update on my string of turtles. I lost the footage for this one, so I'm refilming it on my camera phone, so sorry for the change in quality. But this is my Monstera Siltepecana that I also converted in Leca. This was originally in soil, and I switched it up in Leca. I believe I did show it a little bit in my yellowing leaves video as well. And when I transplanted this, I took it out of the soil, cleaned it, let it propagate in water for I think a day or two, maybe even up to a week before I transferred it in to Leca. And this is what it looks right now. It looks really healthy, but kind of like with my Pothos in Leca, it did still suffer some yellowing leaves, and I believe there's actually at least one yellowing leaf right now, which is one over here. And this one actually suffered root rot while it was in Leca. When I came back from Chicago, I decided to flush this plant. So when I flush my Pothos in Leca, I sometimes do take it completely out of the Leca and repot it. And with this one, since I was still seeing some yellowing, not a lot, but some yellowing, I just decided to check on the roots, and I saw a lot of root rot. And I'm going to insert a photo right here of the roots when it was suffering from root rot, and that was like the most root rot I experienced in a plant. So what I did then is I just cut off the roots that were rotting, repotted it in Leca, and so far so good. It's been doing really well, and hopefully it continues to stay that way. But as you can see how long it has been trailing already. But yeah, so this one has been working out for now, and hopefully it stays that way. So speaking of my Monstera Siltepecana, you know that the mother plant has been experiencing a lot of yellowing leaves, if you've seen my yellowing leaves video. And since applying all the remedies that I mentioned in that video, the yellowing has stopped a lot, but it was still continuing. And since applying all the remedies that I mentioned in that video, the yellowing has gradually slowed down, but it hasn't stopped. So taking cues from my Monstera Siltepecana that's in Leca, and also from a Cebu Blue Pothos that is growing in a smaller pot, I think my Monstera Siltepecana would fare better if I separate the individual plants and put them in their own pot instead of putting them all together in a large pot. That way it would be easier for me to pinpoint and troubleshoot any problems my Monstera Siltepecana is having. And why it is continuing with the yellowing. So I've since separated the mother plant of the Monstera Siltepecana into about 4 or 5 smaller plants. So ever since I did that, the yellowing has dramatically stopped, except for maybe one plant which I forgot to water, because all of them are still in soil. Only one is in water, and of course the other one is in Leca. So the ones in soil, I'm still trying to be very diligent and make sure that I'm on top of their watering, that they don't get underwater, but at the same time making sure that they're not getting overwatered or getting too dry. The next one is my string of turtles. As I mentioned earlier, I tried to propagate some of them using Leca, and also in an earlier video, my favorite string of plants video, I tried propagating this using the butterfly method, but that didn't work out. It was just started to rot off. I guess it was too humid for the peperomia cuttings, so I had to take it out of that. And the ones that I had in Leca, it just keeps falling off the Leca. So what I did, I just put them all on top of this plant, and so far it's doing well. I mean, I don't really know which ones have been the propagation cuttings or not, but this has looked a lot fuller ever since I potted it up. So I'm guessing the cuttings that I just put directly on top of the soil actually did root and thrive. So I don't know if you can see, but this one, I had this propagating using the butterfly method, but that didn't work out. So I just put it on top of the soil maybe about 1 or 2 weeks ago. And it has, I think it is rooted. I mean, there's a bobby pin holding it down, but when I tug it, it doesn't really come out. So I think this has started to root. And the ones that I had in Leca, but as you can see, the Leca ball is still there because some of the roots was attached to the Leca ball, but it's doing well now. So it's a lot of fuller now from when I first potted it. So I do think the propagation of some of the cuttings by just putting on top of the soil worked best. And as you can see, there's a lot of new growth on this string of turtles already, and I'm really happy about that. But yeah, so that's the update on my string of turtles. So the next update I have is on my RHAPHIDOPHORA Tetrasperma, which I showed in my 4 starter Monsteras video. Even though Arachidophyra tetrasperma is technically not a monstera, it is often called the Monstera minima. And this is some Arachidophyra tetrasperma cuttings that I have, because if you follow me on Instagram, I posted over there that Arachidophyra tetrasperma has been experiencing something really weird because I sprayed it with a neem oil solution, that the markings or the variegation in it is just bleaching from that, but then the new growth was still having all those spots and variegation. But I'm pretty sure it's not variegation, it's some type of disease. So when I put it on Instagram and asked, and someone replied and they said, yeah, it's probably some type of viral infection or some type of pest on it, go check it out. And so what I did out of abundance of caution, but really it's more out of panic, is I cut off all the leaves that had that variegation, and this is what they are now. So far, this one has just been propagating in water. They have started to form some roots, and it's really interesting because while I did see some pests on the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, they were pretty much gone after I washed it off, and all the propagations that I caught remained very healthy, and they kept that variegation. So I don't know what's gonna happen once they start popping out new leaves. I'm gonna see. As for the mother plant, let me show you what's going on with it. Over here is the mother Rhaphidophora tetrasperma or Monstera minima, and this is actually two plants in one. And when I cut it off, something interesting really happened. On this side, on the first plant, it produced 3 new stems. So you can see there's one over here, and if I move that out of the way, there's another one over here, and there's another one right here, like a small one. So that was really fascinating that it produced not 1 but 3 new stems, and I was actually worried that the new growth would not have any fenestration in it, but so far it is producing leaves with fenestration, although not as fenestrated as the much older leaves. There is fenestration in them. And on the second plant over here, this one produced 2 new stems after I cut it off. So this is a new stem right over here, and here's a new stem right over here, and they also have popped out new leaves with fenestrations, not as fenestrated as the bottom ones, but fenestrated nonetheless. But yeah, so I'm really excited what's gonna go happen with this Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Before I cut it off, it was actually already up to this tall. It was already filling up the moss bowl, and now it's starting to fill it back up again. This one is a really fast grower, and I'm really happy with this plant, and I'm glad that I was able to get it for $7 at that time. Now the prices have went up. Prices on plants have drastically went up over the summer. But yeah, so that is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. And the next plant that I'm going to give an update on, sorry, I also lost the footage of this one, so sorry for the change in quality, but it's my Hoya Kerrii. This is probably my most asked about plants. I always get messages about this plant on my Instagram DMs and even in my YouTube comments, and I think that's because of my Hoya Kerrii propagation video. I did post a video update on that in my soil mix videos, but I think people are having a hard time finding it, so here's another update on this Hoya Kerrii. So this is the mother plant. It had 2 original leaves, and it has grown this much stem and 2 new leaves. Since that propagation, it actually grew new leaves on this side as well, but I accidentally dropped this plant and those leaves got bruised, so I just took it off, and it started to grow 2 new leaves here as well, but this leaf rotted off, and this is the only one that has survived. And now it's also starting to grow 2 more new leaves. And what I noticed about this Hoya Kerrii is it would start growing 2 new leaves, but only one of the 2 leaves would actually survive. So that's interesting, because even with this one, this is the first leaf that grew since I propagated it. The other leaf over here also did survive. It's just this one that survived. And the one that got bruised over here, it's the healthy leaf that actually was the one that got bruised. I took it off, but the other leaf that's on this side just rotted off. And as far as the propagations, they all propagated really well. They rooted after about a month, and I have sold them since, so I don't have them with me anymore. All I have left is this single leaf cutting that I propagated. I didn't end up selling this one because this one will not grow into a plant. This is just a single leaf cutting because this is the one that I propagated without a node. But so far it's still looking good even though it's just a single leaf cutting. For my fiddle fig, it has been doing really well in its new pot, and it's really happy in the soil that it's in. As you can see from this clip, the soil is actually growing mushrooms because that's how healthy the soil is. And giving it a lot more humidity also helped clear up a lot of the red spots that it was having on its leaves, and I'm really happy about that. I'm really excited about this fiddle fig, and I'm glad that I kept it all in one pot, that I didn't separate it into 3 different pots because I think it looks much better this way. But as far as I can see from its current growth, it's doing pretty well, so hopefully it stays that way. And last but not the least is my golden pothos that I had staked up. I wanted to put a proper moss bowl before I did this video, but I didn't have a chance to do it yet. I might do it later on this week. And as you can see, it's about to outgrow the stake that I gave it, so I really need to give it a proper moss bowl. The leaves that are growing are still pretty large, not as large as the ones that are currently at the bottoms, but I'm still going to let it grow up and trail up to hopefully get bigger leaves and maybe, who knows, some fenestrated leaves. If you've seen my Chicago plant tour, I saw a golden pothos in person that is actually fenestrated, that is also staked up, and the leaves are so huge. So that is kind of my goal for this golden pothos. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that's the goal anyways. I'm gonna try and see if I can make that happen. But yeah, so that is my golden pothos. So those are my plant updates. If there's a plant that you wanted an update on and I didn't mention it in this video, please let me know down in the comments and I'll try to give you an update here or in Instagram or in my YouTube community post. But as far as my other pothos, I do have a pothos collection video coming up very soon, and I'll give you updates on every pothos that I have. And that video would also include a giveaway to thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel. I think by the time this video is up, I would have reached 4K. So thank you so much to all of you that have subscribed and joined me on my plant journey here on YouTube. So please do watch out for that video. And I know a lot of you discovered me through my pothos guide videos, especially my pothos varieties video. I'm going to have a part 2 in that video also real soon, so please also watch out for that. Thanks again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you subscribe. I come up with houseplants and sustainable lifestyle videos every week. And if you haven't yet, go check out those videos out here until my next one. But until then, I see you, I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other and have a plentiful day. Bye!